to lead to exponential results. Change your habits and you'll change your life. So today, we are extremely fortunate to be joined by 4 of Great Britain's most successful hockey players to discuss how they support themselves, players and staff to adhere to healthy behaviours and encourage behaviour change. Hopefully, by the end of the session, you will have the tools, strategies you need to transform your habits, whether you're a team looking to win a championship, an organisation hoping to redefine an industry, or simply an individual who wishes to quit smoking, lose weight, reduce stress, and achieve success that lasts. So, without further ado, please let me welcome our 3 fabulous, talented, Olympic medal winning superstars and 3 great friends of mine. Please can we have up on screen, we've got Hannah Martin, we have Izzy Petter, and we have Ellie Rayer. Ladies, an enormous welcome from us to you. In way of introduction, I just had to do a little bit of quick maths because Hannah on 85 international caps, Ellie on 65 and Izzy on 42 means we have a combined number of 192 international appearances. But I have to say, if you weren't, you're in trouble. I was, and I'm sure you all were, tuned in on the edge of your seats as we watched these 3 remarkable women win an Olympic bronze medal in Tokyo. What an absolute occasion it was. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies.
Thanks very much, Elle.
So I'm going to go straight in. So today is all around understanding and learning the surprising power of the tiny habits. And I know from being in your environment, these are crucial to what you do. Hannah, I'm going to come to you first. Could you just give us an example, just to begin with, of what your routine and schedule looks like on an average week?
Yeah, of course. So in a centralised week, we normally train Monday mornings, hockey, and we have gym in the afternoons. Tuesdays, we train hockey in the lunchtime, afternoon. We have Wednesdays off. Thursdays, we have hockey and gym. And then Friday, we normally have hockey and some gym as well. And then Saturdays, we play with our club. So, yeah, quite a full-on week, but you know, it's a brilliant opportunity for us to have a centralised programme and take advantage of everything we've got on offer.
Blimey, it sounds exhausting just listening to the routine. So you could argue almost when it comes to forming habits and behaviours within your environment, it's quite set and actually often not too dissimilar to potentially sometimes a working environment if you're tuning in and thinking from a working perspective. I'm really interested within the environment you sit in, Ellie, how much responsibility do you take as a squad for driving kind of necessary standards for the high performance world that you live in?
I think as a squad, we take massive amounts of responsibility. I think at the moment there's 32 of us at Bisham. So there's 32 of us that all train together and there's a lot of individuals there. So if we don't collectively set our standards and sort of have our own things in place, I think we'd really struggle to get on board. So from early on, we set this culture in place and we know that everyone is educated in the right way. So we know what's expected and how we should be. And then it's sort of the individual's responsibility to deliver on it. And as a squad, we trust and we believe that everyone is doing it. And yeah, I say we've not got to the point at the moment where you've got issues popping up where you don't think people are meeting it, but we've done work around like conversations and how to have them. So if it got to that point, I'm sure it would. But yeah, massively, everyone knows the individual responsibility to deliver, and then what that does for the strength of the squad.
I'm really interested, Ellie. You're talking around standards, and you've mentioned it. Well, you know, what is it within your environment? Do you have a set of a vision, values, behaviours? Is it you that decides these, or is it, you know, is it, I say, your boss, your coach, your staff? Who comes up with these things? Izzy, you're a relatively very experienced, relatively new member of the team. You're only 21 years old. What was that environment like coming into? Was it something that you came up with these visions, with these values, or is it something that was very much, this is what we do, this is what we expect, off you go?
So when I first joined the programme, I actually joined midway through a cycle, which was quite unique in that I had to come in and sort of almost be taught the values and the visions and stuff. We have this thing called a welcoming ceremony where players will explain like what our values are, so like take the leap, like be the difference and stuff like that, to explain like what we're about and what we want to do. So that was really interesting. But then at the start of this cycle, we had a whole day of meetings on a Wednesday where we went to this lovely place and we discussed what we want to do with our visions and our values. And so yeah, it's more up to the team, and obviously every cycle is going to be new players, it's going to be a different sort of like people in the team. Whereas last cycle we kind of said we were a more feeling team, so we sort of had to do our values around that, whereas obviously this cycle it's different again, so sort of decided whether we want to carry on the same values or whether we want to change them a bit, and we're still finalizing them now, because obviously it's not done in a day, so yeah, we come up with them.
Amazing, thanks, Izzy. So from what I can hear, you have a set of values. Hannah, how, if I came into your environment, how would I know that you live by this set of values or these vision? Is it because they become behavioural or habit driven? Is it things that you see, or is it, as Izzy said, kind of, is there a feeling to it?
Yeah, I think it's things you see, but also kind of what you don't see as well. And I think that's what's so fundamental as part of our squad, and why I find it such a special moment to be a part of this squad, because the culture is incredible, and we all have each other's back, and kind of day in, day out, you see the behaviours, but also you know and trust that each and every member of the squad, you know, goes home, eats right, sleeps well, does the right things to come together as a collective and put the performances in on the pitch. So I think, you know, it is incredibly vital for, you know, a squad like us to have these vision, values and behaviours, because, you know, we have something to hold yourselves accountable for each and every day. And, you know, we all know why we do this. We strive to be the best we can be as an individual and as a team. And I think, you know, this is a good structure for us to look at and see. You can only check yourself that you're adhering to these. So for me, they're incredibly important. And I think for us as a squad, we try and live and breathe them each and every day.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm so fascinated by, you know, when you now working in a corporate environment, and in different areas that are away from the hockey field. Sometimes we're in a place where our vision and values are there. So actually it's really interesting conversation about how do I, or how does somebody listening in now attach them to that? How do you feel a part of something? Behaviour drives all. Habit drives all. I'm gonna pause it there, and for anyone, thank you very much everyone for tuning in today. If you do have any questions, please do send anything through on our chat account, on our chat box. I will try and answer as many as I can. I will give those questions out to Izzy, Ellie and Hannah. I've kind of got three things I want to go through with you today as we think around the forming of habits. You know, how do we start them? You know, how do we not break them? How do we stay motivated to make sure that we continue to do them? Three things that I think we all will have experienced at times in life. So I'm going to ask about you as young people. I'm going to ask you, Izzy, the person, the athlete, both professionally and personally. I'm also going to ask about you as a team. Of course, I'm going to delve into the Tokyo Games because I'm fascinated about what you would attribute success to. Ellie, I'm going to come to you first. I think I probably know the answer to some of these, but I'm fascinated to know, what were you like as a child? You know, did you naturally form good habits? Did you have any bad ones, and how did you break those? Or, you know, do you think this idea of creating these habits is something that you can learn, or you're just naturally very good at?
I think as a kid, I was like a sports nut. I wanted to have a go at everything, and I think that's almost become a habit in itself now. I don't feel like I'm too afraid to make mistakes, because it often opens the door to something new. You try something new, you might love it, you might not, but you try. So that very much was what I was like as a kid. Just have a go and see how it goes almost. But I definitely think that for me, when I was younger, habits came as probably subconsciously. I don't think I was aware I was making them at the time. So then trying to break them probably became harder.
Yeah.
But my top tip when I think about it with habits is, I think it is really hard to like completely cold turkey a habit or to stop something. And a really silly example is like when I first joined the squad, like I've gone from pretty much being in a university environment to then being a full-time hockey player. And something as simple like having chocolate biscuits after dinner, actually that was a habit before I joined the squad. And to suddenly stop that, although it sounds so silly, just to go cold turkey and just not eat anything was then almost harder. So I'd just fall back into it. So then to go, instead of having chocolate biscuits, then just have an apple after dinner, like, got me out of it. And then I got to a point where if I didn't need it, I wouldn't. And for me, it was all the stepping stones and how I break my habits and how I change my habits. And yeah, sometimes it is pretty hard. So sort of the stepping stone and boundaries of, well, I'm just going to do it bit by bit. And that got me to where I was, I think.
Ellie, this is gold dust. I'm writing down notes because I'm also looking to improve by the end of this seminar. So Ellie Rayer's lesson number 1 is, first of all, give it a go. Whatever it is you're looking to change, you have to start somewhere. I've written down the 80-20 rule. I'm so with you with the chocolate biscuits. I found that really hard as an athlete, that, you know, you have to think of everything, your sleep, your nutrition. You may be listening into this podcast thinking, okay, I want to get fitter. I want to maybe lose a bit of weight. I want to gain some muscle tone. Actually, that's a great idea. Just swapping, being kind to yourself and understanding. If you go cold turkey, it is really hard. Stepping stones, bit by bit. Ellie, that's amazing. Thank you. Hannah, I'm interested. You famously, your brother plays international hockey as well for the men's team. I'm wondering where or if, whether it be sibling support, parental support when you were younger, trying to surround yourself by people and the environment that supported your habits, was that important? Is that something that we can all learn from?
Yeah, absolutely. I was incredibly lucky to have an extremely supportive family. Took me here, there and everywhere. Like how I kind of did every sport under the sun when I was growing up. And yeah, my brother, I think, broke into the senior squad when he was 17. So I had that influence and inspiration quite early doors. And I think the support around me was just incredible. You know, Harry was always like, this is something you can do. And he would share his wisdom with me as well. And I would often feed off that. And I just think it was an incredibly special thing to be a part of. And my mum and dad actually don't know really anything about hockey. So it was quite a nice kind of growing up. It was quite nice because they obviously encouraged us, and you know, it was something me and Harry were both quite good at, but they didn't really have any idea. So it wasn't really being pushy. It was just kind of, if this is what you enjoy, we'll drive you there, and kind of go from there. And I think I did quite thrive off that environment. And you know, they also, I could try anything I wanted, and hockey was one of those things I managed to kind of pick up, and I love the team aspect of it for me. And I think that is a huge reason why I kind of ended up picking hockey and going down that route. But yeah, like Harry's a huge inspiration for me, and I've been lucky to always have that. But I think kind of when I was younger, it was always, oh, I don't really know the hard work yet. You think, oh, I can get there. You know, I'm quite talented in my age group, but actually kind of when I got to 19, 20, I was nowhere near. And I think it was learning around what was required at that level. And I think I certainly learned that through my brother, and through learning through experiences like university and the development program and stuff. Because yeah, I kind of came into the program at 22 and still a bit out of my depth then. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of learning kind of when I was 18, 19, 20.
Oh, that's really interesting. It's funny when you think about trying to form new habits, and you've just said it there perfectly, Hannah. Environment is key. People are key. You know, let's help ourselves out. If, you know, I'm wanting to take my first 5K, I haven't run 5K for, you know, I've had one baby, I'm pregnant again, there's no 5Ks going on here. But when I do get back to that stage, actually I need to be chasing my husband about, because that's the kind of thing he does. You need to maybe join a group if that's something that will help. And I think you also mentioned, Hannah, there, the power of a team. Now, I wish I was still in your team more than anything. Sadly, I'm not. But we can always find our team, whether it be family, whether it be joining a club, whether it be our colleagues at work. It's actually in the formation of these good habits, let's find the right people and be influenced by them. I think that's super important. Izzy, now you are very young, and maybe this has never been a trouble for you up to now, and please be honest if it hasn't been. You're obviously all highly motivated people, and I think when it comes to forming good habits, you know, leading to our long-term success, motivation is almost everything. You know, there's lots and lots of things that I think, I want to do this, I must do this, and Ellie Rayer's chocolate biscuit analogy, I get got by the chocolate biscuit. Has your motivation always been there? is it something that you have to work on? What advice would you perhaps give to somebody who wants to start something, but we're not quite getting there?
I think motivation comes in waves, isn't it? Like sometimes you'll be so motivated and then you'll get to the peak and then you'll slowly become demotivated. And it's how you find like what drives you. So I remember watching the Rio 2016 final, you guys won gold. And that evening I was like, right, my goal is to go to Olympic Games. But it's not, obviously that's a very long-term goal. It's making those like smaller, more like bite-sized goals that you can like achieve on like a daily basis. So like before training, I'll think, right, what do I want to work on today? Like whether it's, I mean, yesterday I said I want to work on my 3D, like using it more to eliminate players, and just trying to become better every single day, whether that's in the gym, putting an extra like 0.5 kilos on it. I call them digestives because they're like this big. But just that little bit more will make you stronger in the long term. But I know exactly what you mean with the whole motivation thing. I mean, at the moment, I've just started bullet journaling, which is basically just like checking in with yourself, because I've struggled in the past with like my confidence. And I'm just trying to really work on getting that self-confidence back again, because I built it up towards Tokyo and it's sort of dwindled a bit. And just keeping that motivation through to like keep building on that. But I definitely say like daily goals to build up to like a long-term goal really, really helps. And even if you don't achieve that goal that day, there's always tomorrow. So yeah.
Izzy, that's absolutely fascinating. Bullet journaling, I've not heard of that. I think that's something that we could all do. So very much in terms of a habit you're trying to work on is around confidence, making sure you're moving forward and you do something every day. And again, I think that's what this is all about. It's the small things consistently, day in, day out, lead to a change, whether it be in behaviour, to a more successful point. I also love the fact that in 2016, that was your goal. 4 years later, there you were getting your own medal around your neck. I mean, that's just incredible to hear. Thank you, Izzy. I'm going to take you all to Tokyo, because I mean, I felt like I was there. I was watching every single game. I was speaking to you all regularly. I'm really interested whether there were things that you did day in, day out as a team that you would attribute to part of your success. Hannah, I'll come to you. I mean, I guess it's as simple as that. Were there things that you did together as a group? Were there things that you did as an individual? As Izzy has done day in, day out, that you think helped lead to receiving those Olympic bronze medals?
Well, I think for us as a squad, we had a very inconsistent cycle. And going into the Tokyo Olympics, brutally honest, it was, it'd been quite a hard few months. I think for me personally, I've also was injured before. So I think as a group, we wanted to go and make sure that all the controllables, we were under control. So I think that was like up there with one of the most important things. For instance, we did every single scenario planning under the sun, and that was a lot given, COVID times as well. And I'm sure a lot of other countries did that. But we just felt so prepared. Whatever happens on the pitch, we felt that we could deal with. We decided to come off social media. So again, that helped to keep all external influences away from us as a group. And like you guys did in 2016, it's so powerful. And day in, day out, every day at Tokyo, we were just a bubble, and I felt that power of that bubble, and we were all there striving towards the same thing, and it was just incredibly powerful. And I think as a group, we were in the best place we had been probably that whole cycle, and what a time to be there, because we controlled the controllables, and we were all knew our own role in the team, which I thought was incredibly important. And for me personally, I kind of went into it on the back of not playing an international match for 1.5 years. So it was quite a daunting prospect. But I think for me, similar to Izzy, I write a couple of things down in my notebook kind of just before a game. 2 things I know I can control. So it sounds quite repetitive, but it's one of those things that hockey's quite you could be good on the ball on the day and you could be rubbish on the ball on the day, but there's always things you can control. And for me, that would be running, work rate, and that was hard in 46-degree heat. But again, we prepared for that at home, so we felt utterly prepared. And tactical. So we'd have a meeting, and then I would take one point back, being like, what will I deliver in this? And I think that was crucial. And I think everyone did that, and that was part of the reason of our success.
Amazing. Thanks for bringing that to life, Hannah. And I think I know the answer to this, Ellie, but I'm really wondering whether the habits that you formed in Tokyo, how did these support A, your culture, and B, were these habits that you did just in Tokyo, or were these things that you practiced or you thought of or you talked about at Bisham? Was it a case of, right, we're going to an Olympic Games, right now we need to start and we need to make sure we get these things right, or is it something that you learned to do in the process of getting to an Olympic Games?
It's funny, I'm kind of glad you asked Han the previous question, because you talk about habits and I was trying to wrap my brain in like what habits did we do, and I've just come to the realization it was because everything we'd done before, we'd done it for so long, we'd done it previously, we'd have our players meetings, we knew our daily prep routine, we knew our priming routine, we all knew what we were going to eat pre-game, we all knew how to fuel, how to recover. Everything had become so innate to us that in my head I'm trying to wrap my brain in like what were the habits, and we'd done them so many times over and over again that it was just second nature to us. So when we did get out to Tokyo, it was just, we know what we're doing, we know how we need to be, how to present ourselves, how we're going to approach each game, and how to get the best out of ourselves. And yeah, so like, I joined the squad in 2017, so I had 4.5 years of trying to figure out the best habits for me. And by the time I got to Tokyo, I say everything was just second nature. Everything we tried, like we had, the heat was pretty crazy, so we had like ice lollies and electrolyte tabs and stuff like that, and it was, even those we tested at tournaments previously to see how your body coped with them. If you had one, did it then make you feel funny after? So when we got to Tokyo, we exactly knew what we were going to do, and not suddenly, oh, I feel like I fancy this ice lolly and then it makes you feel funny. We literally had every single basis covered, and like Han said, like the scenario planning was just, everything had become so habitual that it didn't feel like a habit to me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I think it's so spot on around, I think a lesson for all of us is almost we need to practice what habits work for us within the environment that is the environment in which we live in. And I can remember, I felt exactly the same in 2016. By the time we got to those Olympic Games, we'd done everything 10 times over. We'd planned for every single scenario, but most importantly, you and you know what you need to do for the team, for the good of the team, for the good of everyone else. And tell you what, ladies watching on, it was so evident that that's what you had done, and that, I think, for me, made me feel the most proud watching every one of your games. I'm going to ask a difficult question. Izzy, I'm sorry, this has fallen to you, so please feel free to jump in and help Izzy, Hannah and Ellie. I'm really fascinated about what happens in an environment like yours, a really high performer, you rely on one another. What happens when habits or behaviours are broken? When they're not lived to, if it's not potentially working? Is there something you do as an individual? Is that my responsibility? Is it something you do to help one another, or is it something collectively you do to try and bring yourself back on track?
That's a hard question. I would say Ellie and Hannah have mentioned our players meetings that we have, and we try to talk quite openly about things that are going on, because obviously you don't want things to fester and it can affect how the team are feeling, and how it can affect you on the pitch as well. So we'll have players meetings and just talk it out. I mean, this isn't a very good example, but in the Euros last year, we had to beat Belgium in the, I can't remember, in the pool game, I think, to get to semis. And Maddie Hinch just went, guys, nobody's going to die if we don't win, basically. Because I think everyone was feeling a bit nervous, and that, not a habit, but it can affect how you play. You're a bit tentative, you're not decisive, and just putting things into perspective can really, really help. But I definitely say just chatting out in the open, on the pitch, we try to encourage conversations about right, can you pass it here? I don't want it behind me, I want it in front of me, and sort of stopping it there, and trying to sort it then and there. But definitely open conversations, and just encouraging getting stuff sorted in the moment. I don't know if
Absolutely.
add anything.
No, that's so interesting. Almost perspective, detail, and communication. I think that's a really interesting insight, Izzy. Hannah, you mentioned it hadn't been the easiest year in the build up to Tokyo. You'd had a lot of change amongst your squad, you'd had coach change, you'd had injuries. Hannah, you'd been carrying one yourself that put your whole games in doubt. That's a really difficult space to be in. If I remember rightly, you went as a squad, and the reason I bring this up is because I know how well you turn things around. You went to Ireland before Tokyo, and it was a really tricky trip. Ellie smiling, please contribute at any point. I really want to draw out what you did as a group to turn things around to become Olympic medalists. Things, you know, the one thing that every one of us dreamt of as a kid. What did you do as a squad to move forward?
Yeah, I think I was injured, but I was at that camp, but I wasn't playing at that point. And I think I might have a bit of a different perspective on this to the other two, as I was kind of rehabbing solidly from that trip pretty much until we left, because I picked up then the other injury like 2 weeks after that. So I think answering more individually, for me, actually creating those habits whilst I was injured was quite an easy thing to do, because I knew if I didn't, you know, get my nutrition spot on, do every training session, sleep the best I can, take all my supplements, I wasn't going to be there in the Olympics. So I think for me it was quite easy, because I knew what I needed to do. I had incredible support staff, medical staff supporting me every step of the way, and I was obviously listening in on every meeting there was. But for me, I wasn't on the pitch at that point, so I felt it was a huge struggle for me personally, because, you know, like, well, I'm like, I always want to be out there doing stuff, but I think I had to do a lot more video, try and visualize it a bit more in that respect, and just kind of watch and learn from the team. And I think the way the squad dealt with kind of where we were from March to July was remarkable. You know, you've got to we took a step back, looked at where we were, looked at what wasn't working, where we could go, and we knew the quality and the talent we had in the room. We knew we had the potential, but it's about recognizing and taking that step back and being like, right, okay, instead of going on a downward spiral, we actually stopped it, halted it, and was like, what can we do next? We had countless meetings. We spoke about, I think we've already spoken about our individual roles and what each single one of us brings, you know, one or two things that if we bring that, we will succeed. And I think we just dwindled it down to really simple bits. And that's what's so amazing about being part of a team. Like, you know, everyone's better at something else, and that's what's so special. So if every single person brought what they could do, we would medal, and we fully believe that. And it's having that belief as well. And I think that stems again from all our vision and values and behaviours, because I think if we didn't have those in place at that point, you know, it really could have not gone well for us that summer. And I think that's why I so strongly believe in, you know, creating those little habits individually as a team, and also having that culture as a squad. Because when you guys won in Rio, it was just so evident to see the power, the passion, and the you know, the togetherness of the group. And I think that is what's so powerful. And I think the togetherness is something that we harnessed, and we were very fortunate. We genuinely all got on so well as a squad, and I think that is something really special. And we knew that we could get out of this slump. Sorry, I just waffled a bit there, but that's kind of how I felt it.
You haven't waffled at all. I think that's the most articulate answer, and thank you, because I've taken you back to a very difficult period in time, and just you saying sometimes the right thing to do is to just stop. When we're on our personal journeys, whether it be within our professional lives, our personal lives, whether it be in a sports team, whatever it is for anybody tuning in, listening, they want to achieve, sometimes stopping is the right thing, just to halt, just to pause, to recognize that actually I'm not going in the right direction. I need to think about, okay, what can I do? And hey, we've lived in a world where for the last 2 years that has been incredibly challenging for everybody. And if we'd had the mindset of I can't do this, I can't do that, we wouldn't have moved anywhere. It's about what can I do? What do I bring? And then most importantly, which again was so evident watching, is you have to have belief. If I can almost instill one thing in everybody tuning in, we have to believe in what it is we want to achieve and our contribution in doing so. Hannah, I think that was one of the most perfect answers. Thank you for being so open that even at the highest level, that's what you do. you also pause and stop and make some changes. I've had a question in we've had many questions, but one of the ones that has made me smile a little bit, I'm going to ask this for Izzy. So Izzy, when you are having a really bad day and the thought of training is too much, or the desire to eat junk food is too great, maybe we've talked too much about chocolate digestive biscuits here. How do you cope with this or get around this? What is it you do? And actually, I think this is probably really apparent to lots of us listening in. What do you do on those days when it's tough?
That's a really good question. And I think last cycle Fridays was the day where I really did struggle, because your legs are your body just doesn't feel great. And you're in the gym in that Friday afternoon, you're like, right, I just got to get through it. And we don't want to be the people who just get through it, but some sessions it is that. And like Hans mentioned before, it's thinking about things that you know that you can deliver, regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of like what's been going on in that day, and just like thinking of those things and delivering it on the day. In terms of junk food, I mean, I'm a chocoholic, so like chocolate is my worst enemy. Like I actually gave up for the whole of January, which I was very surprised that I did. But I mean, last week, then my boyfriend got me a box of chocolates and I ate the whole thing in 3 days. So
see, that's all about the people.
Yeah.
Can't see your boyfriend on Fridays.
No, that's but yeah, I think just mentally thinking, right, if I have one, it's not too bad. But it's like if I eat the whole box, then maybe, you know, that's not probably the right thing to do. But like not completely cutting it out, because I struggled during January. I mean, chocolate is like if I'm having a bad day, like have a bit of chocolate. But also having the willpower to think, no, I can actually get through this, and having that belief that you can, like you've mentioned before, the belief that you can get through that day.
Absolutely. So balance is key, and I think that is really important for us all to remember. And that thinking of, okay, be kind to ourselves. We are going to slip. Slipping's okay as long as you get yourself back on track as quickly as possible, and you kind of know what your triggers are, what we need to do, and where it is that we want to go. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about kind of you as the people. Obviously, I know you very well. I'm going to come to you first, Ellie. Like Ellie, you are a very caring individual. You'll always put others first. You know, let me give you a scenario. You're seeing someone in your environment, maybe it's in your team, really struggling. Maybe it's performance, maybe it's motivation, maybe they're not firing or ticking on all cylinders. What do you do when someone is maybe choosing kind of to doing the wrong things, or their habits are forming and they're not in line with what you want to be doing as a team? How do you support them, and what do you do?
I think for me, I'm someone who I struggle, and it's something I'm working on, to have like the difficult conversations, the constructive conversations. It's always been something I've struggled with. So for me, my initial approach is always, if I recognise that maybe someone needs a bit of help, needs that extra support, it's how can I be there for them? How can I put myself in their shoes and try and feel what they're feeling, experience what they're going through, and think, well, what would I want out of that situation? How would it help me? And then I try and approach that. And that's the wonderful thing about our squad. There's so many of us in the squad, and yeah, there's some real genuine friendships among the squad. So there's always someone there that is recognizing maybe someone's down, maybe someone needs picking up, maybe someone just needs a little bit of love. Like literally, it's just the way it goes sometimes. So for me, it's all about just being there, that shoulder, that support, that getting on board. And if it's a behaviour or something that maybe I'm not on board with and I don't agree with, it's, can we raise it? Can we discuss it? Or can I actually help you to change it?
Amazing. And does having a set of values, behaviours that's driven by you lot, does that framework help you bring that person back? How would it be, you know, it would be, I imagine, significantly harder if you hadn't had all the conversations that you had and you didn't know what your good daily habits and behaviours were?
Yeah, exactly. I think like our VVBs are something that we genuinely live by every day, and even outside of the environment you're in, they still become a bit of like a moral standpoint of is this how I should be conducting myself? And it becomes so innate in you that now as a squad, we know there's an expectation of us. We know what we should be delivering. And because we have these standards, I guess, in place that across the board we've all agreed to, we've all signed up to, we all think that that is the best way for us to be our best selves, that we can have those discussions and we can have those conversations and we can approach it because we're working towards it and we've set our benchmark of this is our minimum standard and we will deliver it so we can go on to achieve great things.
And actually, Ellie, I was always very similar to you. Those difficult conversations are harder to have, but I felt, and I can see you progressing as your career goes through, when there was a framework that we had all agreed on, it actually became easier for me to have those difficult conversations. So I think having these in place within whatever environment you're in makes an enormous difference for us to grow in those areas as well. Thank you very much, Ellie. Hannah, you, without a shadow of a doubt, are one of the most talented hockey players I have ever played with. If you watch hockey, you'll know who Hannah is. If you don't, just Google Hannah and see how quick her stick skills are. It's remarkable. I would say you're still, even though you say you're old, you're not. You're still in the kind of early to middle phases of your career. You've got a long career ahead of you. But you've been consistently selected quite rightly for teams, for tournaments. You've been to your first Olympics and won an Olympic medal. What is your secret? What do you attribute that success down to? What is it that you have done?
I think for me, I want to hold myself to high standards each and every day. I think I wouldn't buy into the environment and the team if I didn't give it my all. I think every single day I check myself and be like, have I delivered what I want to deliver to get to where I want to be? And I think it spoke about kind of the small goals instead of the big goals. And I think I do that quite often. I kind of check where I am, how am I performing, what can I improve on? And I actually often speak, Crofty, Sarah Evans, a great friend of mine, spoke to me when I first came into the programme, and obviously I had so many weaknesses to work on, but she was like, why are you here? Why are you in this programme? And you find what your strength is, and if you can deliver that strength better than anyone else, then you've got a really good chance of getting selected. So that kind of stuck with me over the years, and I've just been really fortunate enough to be at those tournaments and be in a position to get picked for the team. But I definitely believe that kind of it doesn't come without the hard work, the checking in with each other and understanding where the squad wants to go as well. And it's not just all your individual work, it's kind of the help of the squad. The amount of times I've been picked up by all my teammates around me, and people look out for you all the time, and I think that's what's so special. And I would probably struggle to do an individual sport, in all honesty, because you get you celebrate the highs with your teammates when you do well, and you're there with each other for the lows, and I think that just makes it such an incredible aspect of the team to be around. So I think that's kind of, again, a wish-washy answer, but that's kind of what I'd attribute my success to.
I think it sums it up perfectly. I mean, we all are the sum of what we do, and Hannah, your pursuit of excellence has summed up why you are in the position that you have been. Another thing, listening to what you're saying, Hannah, I think one of the best things that was ever said to me was the best way to serve yourself is to serve others. And within, I think, every walk of life, if we can all take that on board in terms of how we live, the habits we live by, the behaviours that we lead, when we serve others, we serve, ironically, ourselves at the same time. I have another question, and Izzy, this one is for you. So, I think I should read it word for word. How it says, for inept club players like me, no club players are inept. Hockey has always been the release after a working week. This question is, Izzy, do you ever get bored with playing and training and being disciplined as it's your job? What do you do to stay fresh? And this, I'm interested to hear this because I now do the same thing day in, day out. And actually, any kind of tips or things that you have that would help me to stay fresh is super useful.
Yeah, I think I'm doing what I love. I mean, it was always my dream to play for GB, to go to an Olympics. I mean, ever since I was 12 years old, actually, I found something after Tokyo. I said, I want to go to 2020 Olympic Games and play for England hockey by 2015, which is, for a 12-year-old, I don't remember writing it, but I found it. And I think it's just putting it into perspective. It's those sessions where you're literally dying on the floor or doing like extra running at the end, which nobody likes. nobody likes, but you get through it together, and it's putting it into perspective and thinking, this is the most amazing job, like get to travel the world, like get to see amazing places. And obviously not every job is like that, but as long as you're doing something that you love and you enjoy, even on the bad days, even when you're, like, as I said, dying on the floor, just thinking, when I was a little girl, this would have been my dream. And even through lockdown, which I really struggled with, because I live with Tess Howard and Lizzie Neal, who are two great friends, but we were all in very different situations. But together we would just think, like, this is so cool what we're doing. And especially like appearances like this, going to see school kids, they just look at you and like, you just feel like, wow, this is amazing. But sometimes when you do it every day, you lose that perspective. So definitely thinking like, this is, yeah, amazing. And with the club hockey stuff, I love club hockey. Good for friendships. I mean, some of my best friends I've made through hockey, and just a place where you just feel like you really belong. So yeah.
That's really, thank you very much, Izzy, and thank you very much for the questions. I know there are lots coming in. Apologies, we're not going to get to all of them because time is running out so quickly. And I have got one last question I would like to fire at all three of you before I have the very difficult task of trying to sum up some of the excellent points and advice that you've shared with us all. So, Hannah, I'm going to come to you first, and this is very direct. It's a very direct question. What would you say is the one most important habit for you, and how does it affect your life to its best? I know that's a tough one.
Yeah. I know, because I don't really see that I've got like one habit. I'm kind of like a sum of a lot of habits. I think kind of my reflections on my training performance. I do it after every training session. And sorry, that might not be very generalizable to the general public, but I think for me, that's kind of how I've kept progressing as a player. And I would actually kind of, the sleep, the eat, the training, kind of that's all a given. But it's the nuances that I think I could bring to my game, and often that's, I'll train and I'll look, if I think I've trained really badly, I'll be like, no, there must be one thing that I did well, and I'll write that down, and then also the improvements, I'll write that down, so the next session I have kind of a bit of a visual to focus on. So I would say that habit has led me to being the hockey player I am today.
Hannah, that's amazing. I don't know if you can see the questions that are coming on, but I've just had a question come in that said, how do you cope with negative thoughts which tell you you can't succeed? And you've just so beautifully, succinctly said, actually, that's almost one of your super strengths, your ability to be able to look, reflect, okay, that hasn't gone well. What has gone well? Okay, what can I move? Can you see the questions?
No, I can't.
Amazing.
But, that's definitely. I know I'm not. I have to work very hard at it. You can ask our psychologists; they know. But it was a massive area of weakness of mine when I first came into the program. Kind of any mistake, I'd be like, "Oh, that's it. I'm not good enough." Blah blah blah. All negative self-talk. But actually, if you tell yourself you can enough, you will. And it's those little habits, those little tweaks, and having that confidence in yourself and your ability that you can leads you to improving. And like you said, how it's like the sum of little changes sum of little habits lead to change, and you're not going to change if you don't keep tweaking, but you have to have that belief and that can-do attitude.
Han, you've just given me my favourite quote, which I'm going to use, but I'm going to save it until the end. Keep everyone on a knife edge. Ellie, this one is for you. What advice would you give to somebody who is really struggling to either get going with some good habits or to maintain those? So I am your very Joe Blogs, having a wonderful conversation with you three. I've got this thing I want to get going. I'm struggling with motivation. What would you say to me? How can I do it? How can I start?
I think, so something I've done personally, a couple of years ago, one of my New Year's resolutions was to write in a diary every night, just so I could see the year and how everything went. And actually, for the first pretty much all of January, I was rubbish. I completely forgot to do it, and it was really, really hard. I was failing at it. So then I tried to incorporate it into a different routine I had. So we talked a lot about sleep here, and sleep hygiene for athletes is quite a big thing. So I had a really good routine of when I go up to bed and I clean my teeth, I read, I put my phone down and blah, blah, blah. And I simply put in, I'm going to write in my journal at this point every single night. And from there, it stuck. And still 3.5 years later, I still do it. So for me, it was.
You write a book now on your life.
Yeah, yes, please. I'll read it.
You can write a book on your life.
Honestly, you can ask me what I did on like the 25th of April, 2018, and I can tell you.
That's amazing.
But bits like that. So there's sometimes you recognise that you want to do something, and it's not so easy. So for me, it was incorporating it into something else that was innate and was natural to me, and then it just became a part of the habit. And now, like I say, I'm so thankful I've done it, because it was hard at first, but now I look back and I've literally got 3.5 years of memories, and I can go back and I can look at a day and I can literally be taken back to it, and it's something I think I really treasure when I sort of move on after my playing career. So yeah, probably just trying to link it to something else that you've already got in place, and then the recognition of why you're doing it. I think having a purpose and a reason behind why you're trying to make a change or trying to do something makes something so much easier, because just that willpower and that desire to achieve it and to see the change and the impact it can have on you, I think is huge. And then it becomes addictive. Then you just want to do it over and over again.
Ellie, I love that. I have just scribbled down, piggyback your habits. And I may have a 3-year diary by the end of it. I couldn't agree more. Sometimes it is very difficult to start something completely new. So how can we be clever about doing something that will move us forward? Ladies, time has absolutely flown by. Before I try and summarize the last 15 minutes, which have been absolutely incredible, I would just like to say a big thank you to all three of you. I know how precious, how busy, how exhausting the life of an elite athlete is. To take time out and to share with us some of your learnings. I also can't tell you how valuable they are, how much I have taken on a personal level. So to everyone tuning in, I really hope you have enjoyed today's session. I hope there's lots you can take away. And now it goes to me, after saying thank you, to try and summarize what they have said. So to everyone listening in, I'm sure there'll be more that you take. These are some of the lessons that I have learned. So thank you to Hannah, thank you to Izzy, and thank you to Ellie. I have got number 1, start small. Make it easy so you can't say no. Number 2, increase your habit in small ways. As Ellie has just said, be purpose driven. It helps with our motivation. It helps with knowing exactly what it is you want to achieve. Izzy has so beautifully put it, break habits into small chunks. Okay, let's not, don't eat the entire box, but 1 or 2 chocolates is fine. Izzy Petter, 2022. The one, Ellie, I love that you've just said is piggyback your habits. If there's something that is you're finding difficult, find a way where you can make it a little bit easier there. Be patient. If and when you slip, which we all do, get back on track quickly. Just be kind to yourself. This one comes out in bucket loads, ladies. Use your colleagues, your friends, your family. For you, it's your team. Share what you're doing, make yourself accountable, support one another. Life is so much easier when we do that. I love this one. Reward yourself, reward your consistency and hard work. Sometimes the 80-20 rule is a winner. We can't be on it 100% of the time. And Hannah Martin, 2022, January, what date are we? Sometime in January. No, February, sorry, we're in February. This is my favourite quote of all time. If you tell yourself you can, you will. What a lovely way to wrap up today's session. When you're thinking about those habits, those changes in behaviour, taking you to where that is you want to go, tell yourself, if you can, you will get there. Ladies, it's been fabulous. Enjoy the rest of your days. I wish you all the best of luck for your upcoming tour to Argentina. Everybody, please do tune in. And I hope to welcome you back to our Vitality series. Keep your eye out as we have some excellent conversation with some truly wonderful people moving forwards in our calendar. Ladies, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Goodbye.
Thanks, Al.
Bye-bye.